Very good afternoon and welcome to 2 hours of the Property Sunday Show. We're live today and I do hope that everyone is having a good day off if you're out there. Each week, as you know, we take a look at some of the headline stories and we welcome the experts to decipher the details for us, as well as encouraging you to join in the conversation. It's your opportunity to ask some of those burning property, real estate, legal and financial questions, or you can just air your opinion. So let me introduce our regular commentators who join me each Sunday. Ludmila Yamalova, who is managing partner with Yamalova and Plewka legal consultants. Welcome back, Ludmila.
Great to be back.
It's been piling up. We've got 1,001 stories.
Indeed,
I think we want to talk to you about. We've missed you.
Thank you. I've missed you as well.
What are some of your top stories?
Well, obviously the tenancy, the new requirement from the immigration, the UAE actually Interior Ministry
on that.
About tenancy agreements and what it will take to actually renew visas, and the requirement of submitting a tenancy agreement and DIWA or some sort of utility bills in order to qualify for renewal. I think there's a whole series of articles discussing exactly the requirements. Mm-hmm. You know the regulation that mandated it, and then the sort of detailed requirements and its implications. So I can kind of go to that through that in a little greater detail, because it has raised a lot of questions, a lot of alarming questions. That was one. There have also been a few interesting articles about or announcements about banks and mortgages and allegedly new UAE central bank regulation about illegality of requiring blank checks to secure loans, personal loans. And
that's
in the
same
vein, yes, in the same vein, there are a few updates about mortgages and how banks are trying now to sort of mitigate with their clients and their borrowers and customers to try to to mitigate defaults. And possible new regulations that will be launched to address those issues.
Okay.
And there have been a few more specific updates about individual developers, such as, for example, I guess just general real estate. So the health of the real estate market and how the market is rebounding, and we possibly even be starting to enter the same sort of hype of the 2008, especially with announcements like the one from Damac last week, where they're now offering yacht in order to incentivize owners to buy. Also, there was an interesting article about Emaar joining the initiative on stalled projects, Nakheel selling land to extend villa gardens on the Palm, and another one interesting with an Indian developer coming into Dubai and developing two new projects. Yeah, sort of the lower income project. So, lots of stories.
How long have we got? Not long enough, ever.
And we never do. But
we look
time
forward
permits,
to,
yes, we'll I'll get through however many we can.
Great. Thank you, Ludmila. I look forward to getting the details of those. And as always, as mentioned, Ludmila's happy to answer some of your legal questions as well, if you have any. Well, over to Mike Small of VSM Consulting. Great to have you back on the show as well, Mike. Good to see you.
Thank you very much. Good to see you.
Armed with the pink pages, as always.
I've got the pink pages.
Look.
Yep. Oh, you've got one.
I've got one as well. I love.
Done.
I've gone more for the arts and life section this week.
Oh, you should just ask me. I've got that every week. 'Cause I don't read that one. You can.
Oh, do you? I love it because it was how to spend it this weekend, so I got it. But Tyler Brûlé, read his column.
Very good.
Love his column. But he has an interesting one, and I might ask you to see a little bit of a quiz question later on. Apparently, coming out in Monocle, I think this weekend, is their annual quality of life rankings for the world's major cities. So I could put the question out straight away. Which city do you think ranked number one out of 25? Any clues?
Depends who paid the most to the organisers.
Oh, cynical.
Who have we seen in the last year? Was it Sydney was one?
Yeah, normally it's Geneva. Can be up in Scandinavia. Can be Canada at the moment.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, you're more in the right area. What do you think? Which country ranked number one for Monocle's quality of life rankings for the world's major cities? We'll go through that a little bit later. What have you got, Mike?
Me? To add to Ludmila's 8 hours, I've got 14 hours. So I reckon we'll be here for a 24-hour marathon.
Oh my gosh.
I've got so much. I mean, anyone who's only got to watch the news to know that there is so much going on. I mean, I'm not interested in the Greek election today. It's irrelevant.
Well, it's
totally
this evening, isn't it?
But it's totally irrelevant. It doesn't matter what they vote. They're bust. So Spain, so's Portugal, so's Ireland.
But surely it's going to have an impact, though, on the other European countries.
No, it's just going to have an impact on traders in the market who will take it one way or the other. They'll make some money and the governments will pay up again and the taxpayers will pay the governments and everyone will go back to where they were with Greece bust, Spain bust, Ireland bust and France on its way. Holland also on its way, actually. Very, very surprisingly for me, Holland's retail sales figures in April, and get this, they didn't fall 0.1, they didn't fall 1.1, they fell 11%. 11%. Wow. That's how cautious the Dutch are when there's a problem, and I know a few Dutchies, and they are. They are very cautious people.
Dutchies.
Yeah. No, it's better than cloggies. But no, I love the Dutch, except for their football team, which have suffered very badly, I'm afraid, which is very surprising. But
well,
I've
Greece, although sorry,
yeah, go on.
You've got to mention that Greece won.
Greece, well, I tell you what, the real catch is the next round. Greece will now play Germany.
Ooh.
Oh, there's your battle. There's your Euroland meeting each other. Who gets what? Who wins the prize? Who gets the money? Greece or Germany?
Oh, dear. So, yeah, I know loads of stories, Mike. We've got a great clip as well by Nigel
I hope you
Farage.
can play that.
Yes.
It's fantastic. And
he
it's just
sums it
apt.
all up, doesn't he?
He does. He's a brilliant speaker. Forget his politics. Don't worry that he's UKIP. Just forget that. Just listen to what he's saying about the economy, because that's all he's saying. There's no politics in it. It's just pure economics.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful.
We'll play that out a little bit later on in the show as well. Thank you, Mike. And let's also welcome our guest today. In fact, we're welcoming back to the Property Show Douglas Ralph, who is Managing Director of Snag and Inspect. Welcome to the programme.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Good to see you again.
Have you been busy?
We are.
Yeah.
Business has actually picked up greatly. The large projects being handed over recently. Nakheel's now doing Jumeirah Park. We have financial institutes that are starting to inquiry for inspections for their properties. And the Strata Global, or the handover requirements for Owners Association, is now getting more in swing, and the bank's accounts are being opened, so money is being freed up to start doing the proper handovers.
Okay. So, in fact, before we get into all of those, just tell us a little bit about Snag and Inspect, Doug.
Well, we are a certified inspection company, registered under the Lands Department and RERA as a property surveyor. There right now are two companies that RERA is recommending directly to owners associations and anyone that inquires. We specialize in looking into properties before handover, before resell, and for solution investigations to evaluate problems or construction quality issues.
Okay. Now, I know some of the stories that you wanted to cover today was a little bit one about Nakheel, who are starting to handovers, I believe, but not allowing people into the properties. Is that right?
They've put a new twist to it. It's a 1 hour restriction for 4-bedroom, 5-bedroom villas.
Is this where, on the Palm?
It's the Jumeirah Park project.
Jumeirah Park, sorry, right, okay.
Right. And it's not allowed, they're not allowing owners to look at the MEP side of the property. You're not allowed to run water. You're not allowed to look at the roof AC units. You're not allowed to look in the ceiling at the plumbing or the fan coil units.
And you've got an hour to do it.
And you have 1 hour.
What
How
are you
far
allowed
do you have
to
to stand away from the property to do it? Do you have to be 100 metres away or something?
It's a challenge.
That's where Google Maps come in. I was just listening this morning about Google Maps. I mean, within 4 inches, I think they can check.
Really?
Yeah.
That's phenomenal. That's Big Brother, really.
No, that's actually quite frightening.
Yeah, it is scary.
But this is, I mean, in effect, is this before handover?
No, they call this the handover. They're actually asking the owners to sign a piece of paper saying that they have done their handover inspection and they accept all items that have been written down by a third party. You're not even allowed to make notes yourself or hand in a report after the inspection.
And often what we notice is it's a full waiver of liabilities. Basically the whole sort of gamut, which is very dangerous because any of the claims that may surface, which most likely will surface, especially if you haven't had a chance to do proper inspection, as Douglas said, then it's basically you may not be able to bring a case against Nakheel because you've
do that though if you actually own the property?
Because it's complicated. It doesn't really have to be. Basically, they will not give you the keys, and they will not. You will not begin processing issuance of the title deed until basically will not give you the property until you've signed this document. And so, people who have made all the payments, who have been waiting for X number of years, beyond what they had expected, anticipated, are basically, and what complicates it further is even in those investors who also have mortgages. So they have been paying mortgage installments, and therefore, for them, they are eager to take the property on, for a number of reasons. And so it's almost, the kind of strong, basically extorted into signing this document, because otherwise they really have no other, no other alternative.
Wow. I mean, have you seen any of these properties?
Yes, we have.
Yeah.
The overall quality isn't bad when you look at the surface. When you look at the quality of the paintwork, the chips in the doors, the few cracked tiles here and there, then you start raising question. But the real functionality and the things that cost the most to fix later is the plumbing, is the AC units, is the fan coil units, the safety of the wiring in the roof, in the ceiling areas. They're all questionable. And not being allowed to evaluate those, you're signing away a potential liability and a cost to you as the owner. It is just unreasonable.
And those are really the most serious defects, right?
Yes.
It's called the latent defects, the ones you can't really see.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, fixing up tile and walls, that's a fairly sort of insignificant expense compared to changing a drainage system, or air conditioning units and, other sort of more structural parts which you cannot see and cannot really appreciate, if you're not an expert.
Yeah.
No, very true.